Well, given the recent sort of data that's come through and signals, I mean, clearly the focus right now is, speeding up that pace of tapering. So we'll most probably get, an announcement that will be accelerated significantly from what was previously announced. But I think that will really be the key. But, when you look at markets, I mean, the focus is still, and I think the most important driving factor is what pace of rate hikes do you get after that through the rest of 2022. And I think there we may still see a bit of a balancing act. I mean, the market has swung between 1 to 3 rate hikes, depending on what point over the past couple of months. But from the Fed's perspective, a lot of it is likely to depend on where inflation actually is when the tapering process ends. So we may very well see a turn in a more hawkish direction than before. I think that seems to be pretty much the consensus already. I think it's really a question of gauging the degree and how much leeway they buy themselves to sort of reassess inflation when we get to first or second quarter next year.
I like that word, leeway. The outlook is coming out as well when the Fed wraps up, and all eyes are going to be on the dot plot, whether it ends up being 2 hikes for 2022 next year or 3. We've been talking about the risk if we see that third dot, markets are going to be pretty surprised by that, right? At the same time, though, do you think the odds are more likely that we're going to see 2 simply because it gives the Fed the kind of flexibility it may need?
I'd agree. I think the flexibility is really the key because let's not forget, I think the market sort of swings over the past month or so, give us a good gauge. We're currently at a point where we just come off a couple of, high inflation reports, so we're back to the market pricing 3. But let's not forget, a couple of weeks back, the focus was also on the yield curve, saying, can the Fed really hike that rapidly without sort of creating a policy mistake? And there is reason to believe, we think, that inflation numbers will at least be lower than where they are today. We're sort of at the peak of, the base effects, the supply disruption effects, and some of that should come off as we go into 2022. So I think it's not as clear-cut a case that we're going to get 3, and I think it really will be about, keeping that leeway and reassessing as we go through the year.